For over 400 years, the armies of Kairos the Overlord have swept across the known world. All who stood against them fell before their might. Even the Archons, women and men of immense power, were forced to kneel, chained to the Overlord's will. Now Kairos' final conquest has come to our corner of the world, and two of the Overlord's armies compete for the honor of taking our lands. The elite disfavored, and the teeming horde of the Scarlet Chorus. The voices of Nerat, spy master and archon of secrets, guides the fierce and undisciplined masses of the Scarlet Chorus. With each battle, the Scarlet Chorus grows stronger, as the defeated are given a simple choice: serve or die. Graven Ash, Archon of War and the Overlord's most loyal general, leads the disfavored. Though small in number, Kairos' ironclad legion has never met true defeat in open battle. Watching over the two generals is Tunon, the Adjudicator, Archon of Justice, eldest of Kairos' minions. Tunon brings Kairos' laws to newly conquered lands, aided by the Fatebinders, judges and executioners of the Overlord's laws. You were among the youngest of the court of Fatebinders when Kairos' armies came to our lands. How could we have known that the fate of thousands would rest in your hands?
Well, hello. Looks like you found me, guys. Playing Tyranny. Thanks for clicking on the vid and hope you enjoy. But yeah, this is my first time playing Tyranny. I don't know much about it, except I know that part of the lore is that the bad guys win, so it's very leaning more evil and morally gray at best. But yeah. So I think for this part, we're just going to go over character creation, because I know for these games, it's like a lot to decide. A lot of reading, too. For example, I only briefly looked at the character creation, but I haven't gone anything further than that, so I don't know the story beats yet. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. But yeah. Right. At least for my appearance, let's read what man does. In the Northern Empire, where you were born, men enjoy equal protection under the laws of the Overlord Kairos. In the southern lands of the tiers, only men may own or captain ships, but real estate is restricted to women. Men may lease, but durable ownership of the land in the tiers always passes to eldest daughters or sisters. Most sons enter their father's professions by their mid-teens. Those without a profession or family lands to work and find purpose by pledging service to one of the Overlord's mighty Archons. Criminals, derelicts, and others are often conscripted into the armies of the Archons. If a child cannot forge his own skein, he will certainly find one at battle. And then the women. In the Northern Empire, where you were born, women enjoy equal protection under the laws of the Overlord Kratos. In the southern lands of the tiers, women may crew a ship, but only men may own or captain a vessel. While these customs give the oceans to the men, the lands are trusted to the women. Men may rent and lease, but only women may own land and bequeath it to their daughters and sisters. While following a parent's profession is standard, many women choose to pledge service to one of the Overlord's powerful Archons. Those without a viable trade or lands to call their own are often drafted into the armies of the Archons, where it is assumed they will rise to glory or vanish in obscurity, in accordance to their worth. I really like that. It's a very different take on societal gender standards in society. But I also like that, looking at it and just doing a bit of research online, is that this is a bit different than high fantasy. This is very late Bronze Age, early Iron Age sort of era, like Greek mythology, like Greek era. Think of ancient Greeks. Okay. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go with the man this one. That's a pretty standard build, but this is pretty lanky. I like this build. No, it's probably the more, people would say the fatter build, but I kind of like it. But let's go with the lighter skin. I always go for the middle one. Like that one. Right, next. Okay. Now, customize the appearance.
Quiet down. I'm injured, tired. Found something. Heads up, we have company.
Sounds like, it almost sounds like either Troy Baker or Matt Mercer.
Good work. You learn something every day.
That is Matt Mercer.
This will be fun. Ah, got it. Quiet down. My wounds are slowing me down. I need rest.
Interesting. To battle! Good work!
Is it all Matt Mercer? I think it is just Matt Mercer.
You learn something every day.
Let's see if I recognize the female.
That wasn't so hard. On the lookout. My wounds are slowing me down. I need rest.
Huh. Trouble is afoot. Flawless. You learn something every day. That wasn't so hard.
I think that's Laura Bailey. But I'm going to look this up because I don't want to sound wrong. But I will be wrong. Okay, yeah, I was very wrong. I mean, they sounded very alike, but the female base character is Allegra Clark, which I do know. If you know, like, Dorothea from Fire Emblem Three Houses, I believe. Yeah, and she's also the new voice of Mitsuru Kirijo from Persona 3. And Ray Chase. Who was he? I just recognize that name. Yeah. Yeah, I recognize Ray Chase, but I don't think I've watched any of the work where he's been a prominent main character. Oh, that's embarrassing. Sorry, Ray Chase and Allegra Clark. But I think I'll go with the sneaky. I like the sound of the sneaky one.
That wasn't so hard. Moving cautiously. I'm injured, tired. Let's rest. On it.
Cool. For hair. I like the look of that. I usually go black. Sometimes if I feel spicy, go red. I'll go black. Since this isn't going to be more of an evil world, black hair means evil people. And beard. Yeah, I'll go with that. Alright, there's my guy. Looks like we also have tattoos here. Usually don't go for tattoos, but I've been slowly choosing like arm tattoos, something like that. Let's see what else. Probably go with something like this. I do like that with the eagle stuff. I don't know. You can go either way. Go with the eagle stuff. And then portraits. I do like the art in portraits, but I always, I prefer like if the portrait itself reflected what my character looks like, because it always bothers me. And it's tradition. I don't know, they didn't have the technology back then, but it just sucks that like I like this portrait the most. And it fits kind of like the vibe of my character, but there's no hairstyle, no beard that fits. It doesn't look one-to-one. You know? Like this is a cool portrait, but we don't have that hairstyle, I don't think. Except for the mohawk. The mohawk's not one-to-one either. So, got to kick something that's closest. I think I'll have to go with this one. Not the exact same, but as I pointed out, it's not going to be like that. Now, how did you join Kairos' army? Interesting. Take a look at Pitfighter. Not wishing to pay to feed and house too, Madame that purchased your mother sold you to the proving grounds. The Northern Empire's bloodiest, most notorious fighting arena. Given only enough training to assure the show isn't over too soon, your natural prowess and survival instinct led you to one victory after another. There was no elegant swordplay, no formalized duels, just brutal melee and the stench of blood, chit, and bronze with each day's gruesome necessities. It is said that any fighter that slays a dozen others in the grand melee is given her freedom, but in their 300 years, only 3 warriors have ever walked away from the proving grounds. When the closing horns sounded and 13 corpses lay about your feet, you became the 4th to be granted freedom to the thunderous applause. This autonomy was short-lived. Within days, word of your accomplishment made its way to the Archon of Justice. Right? As a soldier, unable to settle the year's accounts with grain, your parents offered you as a teeth to this Overlord instead. Seeing your first battles as a child, you know all your life how to fight, to stay calm at the sight of blood and disembowelment, and how to rely on your fellow warriors. Deemed smarter than the average killer, you were groomed for command and given an education in letters and numbers. With rumors of war, it seemed recruitment into the disfavored legion would be the obvious match for your skills. The Archon of Justice is known to say that good iron is not used for swords, and good minds are not used for soldiers. Claimed by Tunin, you were instead drafted into the Court of Fatebinders, where your martial skills were put to use in the enforcement of Kairos' law. It's pretty cool. So far, soldier over Pitfighter. Now, Hunter. When the leader of your home village spoke out, turned one time too many, agents of the Overlord put the whole town to the torch to contain the spread of insubordination. The Bounding Viper tribe came across the smoking ruins of your village. When the beast's matriarch found you frozen but unafraid, the mighty leader took you in and raised you with the protection of her tribe. For years, you lived with these wild beastmen in their migratory homes throughout the mountains. The Bounding Vipers were a dying breed. Each long winter took a greater toll than the last, and once the dwindling tribe was too weak to defend its lands, his favored soldiers came to dispense of the ravenous scavengers your tribe had become. Finding a human amongst the wild tribe, the disfavored soldiers made a point of taking you alive. News of the wild child of the north eventually spread to the Archon of Justice. He ordered your release from captivity and delivered unto his court. Alright, I like that a lot. A lot of roleplay stuff that can be had with that. So far, Hunter over Sword. Lawbreaker. Accused of crime you most certainly did commit, you stood before Tunin, the educator. Adjudicator. Archon of Justin argued your case with elegance and conviction. Impressed by your logic, reason, and confidence, he found you guilty anyway. It is rumored that Tunin selects many of his agents from his prisoners. Who better to catch the wicked than those versed in such ways? In his mercy, Tunin offered you the choice of 2 sentences: a fate's languishing in prison, or a lifetime serving him in the court of Fatebinders. The choice was an easy one, and instead of seeing the inside of a cell, you were trained in letters and numbers, magic and war. The laws you once broke are now yours to interpret and enforce. Oh, that's a pretty good one, too. But for my character, at least for my first character, I probably go for a hunter over lawbreaker. Guild apprentice. Deeply proud of your intelligence, your parents always knew you were too smart for a life spent with your hands in the soil. Looking to secure a better future, your parents struck a bargain with the 7-Tree Guild, a small magical order willing to teach you letters, numbers, and magic if you proved capable. For several years, you learned much from the mages, mastering reading and writing faster than the rest, and eventually learned the basics of mystic theory and spellcraft. Your magical studies came to an abrupt halt when the voices of Nerat, Archon of Secrets, deemed the guild a peacetime distraction that must disband for the upcoming war. Its mages assigned to the proper armies, while your peers went on to other guilds, your mind was seen as too valuable to waste on the armies. Instead, your life was claimed by Tunon, Archon of Justice. I'm sensing a pattern here, but I still like Hunter so far. War Mage. If you have the combination of wits and courage to be accomplished casters and warriors, and those cursed with such a combination of talents are invariably pulled from their mundane lives and assigned to the armies of the Archons. Your earliest memories are a painful slog of training, study, lecture, and exhaustion, all the elements of being groomed for battle. You knew better than to ask what became of your family, nor did the question the missives allegedly pinned by their hand that were part of the earliest lessons in reading. When you reached adulthood, Tunon, the educator, came to the barracks and laid claim to your life, seeing you as too valuable for the crucible of battle. The Archon of Justice deemed your life better spent dedicated to the art of punitive legal remedies. Though you had much to learn in matters of civil discourse, none could deny your future as Tunon's next great enforcer. Alright, so far Hunter and War Mage are guide designed, leaning more towards Hunter, but let's read the last 2. Noble Scion. Born to noble parents, you were groomed for leadership. Your youth spent on letters, history, rhetoric, and other matters of culture and statecraft. Though you had wealth and creature comforts, you were expected to grow up quickly and bear the honor of shepherding others through prosperity and war. When your parents came under accusation of sedition, you were sent to the court of Tuna, Archon of Justice, to defend your family's actions. Your parents were found guilty. Their sentence? The dissolution of the treasonous estate. Eloquently pleading your own ignorance on your family's actions, you negotiated your most important deal yet: immunity from the crimes of your family for the simple cost of swearing fealty to the Archon himself. Despite the unwilling induction, your education and savvy made you a valuable addition to the Archon's cadre of forces. And so long as you remain in good standing, your family just might be able to live. Though I do like the family angle that, well, I have to rely on your allegiance to the Tunon, to the Archon, to save your family. Alright, last one, Diplomat. Though they would never tell you why, Kieras bestowed great wealth upon your family for some unmentioned service, and your parents used this wealth to have you raised far from home. Your childhood was a nomadic tour of Tyrannis, with hired tutors and fleeting friendships. Where others had stability and routine, you had a worldly and varied education. A careless world in a far-flung city landed you in legal trouble, and you were taken before Tunon, the adjudicator, and made to stand trial. Not only did you plead your innocence, but you turned the accusations around on the accuser for wasting the court's time. And the Archon of Justice concurred. Amused by your wit, wisdom, and adaptability, Tunon claimed you as his newest enforcer. So yeah, the theme I mentioned earlier is that even with something like the Diplomat, that your life is kind of decided for you in all of these. I mean, eventually it leads to the adjudicator, but even before then, like Pit Fighter, the Lawbreaker, the War Mage, Guild Apprentice. There's forces outside of your control that decide the fate of your character. Now, but for now, I'm going to go with Hunter, and I'm going to see how that fits role-playing wise. Alright, you were trained in the following combat styles. Oh. I like the outfit. We got Sword and Shield, Javelin, dual-wielding Greatsword, Short Bow, Unarmed Attacks, Frost Spells, Shock Spells, Finger Spells, and Atrophy Spells. Let's read it. Shock Spells. Mages skilled in shock magic can frequently interrupt their enemies, preventing them from executing their attacks. Frost Magic is a defensive school that focuses on slowing enemies as well as dealing cold damage. School Vigor is a utility branch of magic that focuses on granting bonuses to yourself and your allies. And then I guess this is the debuff. Attribute Magic drains the skills and attributes of your enemies, weakening their attacks and making them easier to kill. Okay. Control Atrophy, Magic Staff, Dodge, and Lore. The Touch of Atrophy. So they're gathering entropic energy and channel it into an enemy, tapping on the target's might and vitality. -3 might, -3 vitality. Pretty good. Thane's Touch. Fill the target with a surge of greatness, granting the bonus. So it's just the opposite. +2 vitality and +2 might. Interesting. Okay, the School Vigor is Shock. Charged Fist. That sounds pretty cool. Channel an explosive surge of electrical energy, releasing it all at once on nearby enemies, interrupting them and sending them flying back. That's pretty cool. I always like electrical spells. We have Frost Grasp. Envelops target in harsh winter cold, leaving them frozen for a time. I do like the look of Sword and Shield on the Javelin. But since it's the Bronze Age, like sword, spears, or javelins and shields are pretty common. Let's see, Heart Shot. Delay your aim to focus on hitting the target's heart. Gain additional accuracy for this attack and leave the target bleeding. And help target your enemy's feet with a ranged attack, humbling them if successful. Wielding a javelin is a good compromise between melee and range. Throw weapons deal more damage than bows, but cannot attack from as far away. They also have the benefit of being able to switch between range and melee attacks depending on the enemy's distance. So does that mean I'm used to like turn-based combat where once you throw your javelin, you have to go pick it up, or you have to re-equip and buy more javelins. And so hopefully that's not the case. I'm really doing that, but I'm going to take a risk. Okay, I think I'll go with the javelin and shield. Oh, I have to choose an ability. Let's go with Heart Shot. I'm going to be a bit more up close. And a secondary expertise. Oh, that's what I get. Interesting. Okay. If I choose Javelin again, I get the other ability. Oh. Spirit Shield. Why is this like considered a secondary expertise? Like if I go, go back. I go back and choose like Sword and Shield, and I'll just choose that for now. Yes, wielding a weapon and shield puts you in the front lines of combat, standing between enemies and your allies. Holding a shield will slow down your attack rate slightly. I don't want to double up on melee. If I were to choose, probably go. how I'm so indecisive when it comes to my class. I like the sword and shield. Okay, this is probably something I'm going to do, because I do want the... I don't know why the spear and shield are not a chosen expertise in the first one. So I'm going to go with vigor spells, kind of like a paladin type, with spears and shields. Oh yeah, choose ability. Let's go with shield slam. So I'll kind of be like a tank. Paladin almost. Oh, what colors? Okay. I always go for black and red. Those are my go-to colors. My banner customization. Well, this is pretty morbid. Let's see. I know it probably is customization, but let's go with something I like, which I do like this one. I do like it, but maybe it's a bit too hopeful in the design. I want to go with something more morally gray. Oh, I do have the eagles on my arm, so let's go with this one. And again, yeah, there we go. Let's go with a bit brighter because we want to have the banner to be seen. All right. My name, you all know my name. And attributes. So then we have might. Might determines the physical strength of a character. Increased might leads to more powerful attacks and strong abilities, as well as increasing the endurance defense. Right. Finesse attribute described in a character's physical and mental precision. Finesse is used to determine accuracy of attacks and spells, as well as increasing worn armor's chances to reduce a hit type. Quickness determines how often a character can use their abilities and spells in combat, reducing cooldown duration. Okay. Vitality determines a character's physical health and their strength and personality. It also increases the will defense. The will defense. Will defense opposes attacks that are mentally based. Yeah, does that make sense? And wits. The wits attribute describes a character's mental acuity, their ability to observe their environment and pick up on clues. Wits is used to increase spell strength as well as increase magic defense. Then we have resolve. Determines the character's ability to endure physical and mental challenges. Resolves in the primary attribute used to derive the endurance, will, and magic defenses. It also increases the duration of afflictions applied by the character. Okay. Probably put 2 in vitality. Get a bonus. I want to go with might. Let's see, let's go back a bit. Cooldown is 24 seconds. Okay. If I lower, maybe get rid of vitality, we just want. Yeah, I like this build so far. Yeah, let's go with that. I think it's kind of basic. I know I could probably min-max it, but I like this so far. Skills. We got Oppose the magic staff. Determines the effectiveness of attacks using a magic staff. Higher skill values lead to more accurate attacks, increasing the chance of critical strikes. The accuracy of the magic attacks is determined by both the magic staff skill and the magic skill used by the equipped staff. Gotcha. And one-handed weapons makes sense. It's control vigor. Determine a character's ability to draw and control spells that use the sigil of vigor. Higher skill values increase the chance of critical hits, which extends the duration of vigor bonuses to allies. Ah. You want to upgrade this? We have lore, dodge, athletics, subterfuge, and parry. Parry skill that gets melee and spells higher skill ranks will reduce damage. Okay, parry is physical defense. Dodge. Defense against range. Oh, this is ranged defense. Lore skill determines a character's ability to decipher information and put together clues from fragments of information. Okay, that's vitally important. And then athletics determines a character's ability to traverse difficult terrain as well as their ability to execute complicated moves in combat. Ah, okay. Well, let's up parry a bit, and we're gonna parry mostly. Keep dodge as it is. Down there. Yeah, we're probably not going to put any points into subterfuge. We'll put it into one hand and magic staff. Let's see. Let's put some into. Put 2 into dodge, and the rest into athletics. Oh wait, I didn't put any. Let's put. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. Next. Do you want to continue conquest? Let's see. Selecting the conquest option will allow you to play through Kairos' conquest of the tiers, choosing how your character was involved in the invasion. This gives you the most control over the start and state of the game. And how, okay. Yeah. Let's do that.
All the world has fallen to Kairos, and now the Overlord's eye is on the tiers, our home. The last corner of the world free of Kairos' reign. 2 armies, the Disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus, march south from the Northern Empire, the last realm to fall to Kairos a century prior. In the early days of 428, Kairos' armies arrive at the Gates of Judgment, the mountainous border that we Tiersmen so long believed unassailable. Unable to agree on a unified plan of defense, the various leaders of the tiers sit and wait for each other to deal with the conquerors, until it's too late.
Conquest. During the conquest, you will decide your character's actions during Kairos' invasion of the tiers, shaping the world through which you would venture over the course of the game. Each choice you make affects your character and how major factions of the tiers respond to you. Decisions matter. Choose wisely. 428 DR, Year 1 of Kairos' conquest. Whoa, I do like this battle map. Bastard City. The Bastard City stood on the northern border between Kairos' empire and the tiers. Built upon a natural harbor at the crossroads between realms, the city was a nexus of commerce. To the tiers, it was the center of all wealth. To a northerner, it was little more than a backwater trading post. Its symbolic status as a gateway to the continent made it a natural first target in Kairos' military conquest. Circumstances were ideal for you to prove your worth as a soldier in Kairos' army. Taking the city would send a message to the rest of tiers. Kairos' will is insurmountable. Infiltrate the tiers. Gates of Judgment. Let's see. Gates of Judgment. The armies of Kairos took battle to the Gates of Judgment, trumpeting the opening call of the conquest of the tiers. The 2 armies, the Disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus, brought their distinctive sense of order and chaos to the assault. You went to battle alongside the army whose approach best suited your strengths. Standing shield to shield with Kairos' ironclad elite, you advanced on the mercenary army purchased by the nobles of the Bastard City. the Legion wanted to send a message to the tiers that superior breeding and discipline training would win the day. Okay. Scarlet Chorus. He rushed with the chaotic mass of the Scarlet Chorus, flanked Bastard's army, and drove them to flee. Just simple and straight to the point, the Scarlets. And let's take a look at this. Infiltrate the tiers. History would remember the Gates of the Judgment as the first battle of the conquest. The real combat unfolded with advanced units of both armies preparing for the coming war. This favored and Scarlet Chorus each had a plan to infiltrate the capital city. Which army did you join? You lent your skills to the elite disfavored scouts to capture a border garrison, Graven Ash. Insisted that an early victory in the offensive would boost the morale of his troops and diminish the haughty overconfidence of the Southerners. Who's Graven Ash? Graven Ash, oh yeah, that's the leader, the last of the great northern generals. Stand against the Overlord in ages past. Archon Graven Ash now serves Kairos as supreme commander of the disfavored legion and is charged with conquering the tiers. Graven Ash shares a powerful bond with the soldiers under his command and regards each of them as family. The death of the soldier at enemy hands represents a grievous loss to the old general, who bears the burden of his love with mournful stoicism. It can also be easily interpreted as not caring. Alright, you join the Scarlet Chorus as they raided villages and small towns, conscripting every able-bodied man and woman into the army. The voices of Nerat emphasize the rewards of conscription and enslavement over wanton bloodshed. Apparently, his soldiers needed the reminder. Let's see. The Voices of Nerat. Known as his official capacity as the Archon of Secrets, the Voices of Nerat is equal parts genius and madman. Rumors abound that he can steal the minds of others, though few, if any, are alive to confirm it as much. The subjects of his interrogations are never heard from again, and the Archon is able to recall the memories of his victims with startling accuracy. He is the inconsistent leader of the Scarlet Chorus, facilitating between commanding from the vanguard and directing his armies in absentia. Despite his strange methods, no one doubts that the Voices of Nerat is an accomplished strategist, even suggesting that his madness stems from thinking hundreds, perhaps thousands of steps ahead of his enemies. Yeah, that's a bunch of lore dump. I'm really enjoying the lore so far. I'm leaning towards more infiltrating, not straight up battle. I feel like this is, for my character, would be just capturing border garrisons before. The Oathbound scouts identified a modest border defense and collaborated on an organized attack that would leave the enemy uncoordinated and cut off from aid. You oversaw the preparations and offered your opinions on the strategy. With the clashing of sword and spears fell to silence, followed by the cheering of disfavored scouts. You were the least surprised. Yeah, I feel like my character so far is probably behind the scenes, manipulating. He can get his hands dirty, but he would rather decide upon behind-the-scene matters. Alright, continuing the fire. Fiercest opponents in the Bastard City were the mages of the School of Wild Wrath. Too barbaric to use their powers responsibly, the unbridled practitioners needed to be stopped. Did you trick the hot-tempered mages into their own undoing? So you lured the hot-headed mages to an ambush where a legion of disfavored waited to spring the trap. The soldiers were hungry for a chance to subdue the arcane branch of Tears of Resistance. Or the Scarlet, you tricked the Guild elders into meeting with the Voices of Nerat, Archon of Secret. The Archon was notorious for its cruel and mysterious interrogation techniques. The mages were never seen again. The Inside Agent. With the border garrison captured by your disfavored allies, you traveled ahead of Kairos' army and lurked in the shadows of the Bastard City. You decided that converting one of the locals to Kairos' side would help bring the city to its knees. After all, corrupting starts from within. You enlisted a bitter captain of the guard to sell military secrets to the disfavored. Better that Kairos' forces matched to their next inevitable victory, well informed. You came to an arrangement with a well-connected smuggler who knew how to sneak agents of the Scarlet Chorus behind the city walls. The Scarlet Chorus were better operatives than soldiers, and this work required a subtle touch. try to bring... Do we want that? For like containing the fire, I'll probably go with Scarlet. But for this, I think I'm going to go with this because my character is a strategist. I think I'm deciding. The Captain of the Guard was a mind that the bastard city was corrupt and deserving of better leadership. You did nothing to convince him otherwise. After taking your promises of stature and security to heart, he offered you a list of valuable assets, from weakened stones in the ramparts to the state of siege provisions, keeping it off the list of city officials whose loyalties could likewise be turned to support your cause. Betrayal of the Bastard City. Your tactics of infiltration placed you in the Bastard City ahead of the main armies. Your work softened the city defenses for the arrival of Kairos' forces, but you wanted a decisive gesture that would give your allies a meaningful advantage. How do you assist in the fall of the Bastard City? Three choices. Okay. You challenged the commander of the Bastard City's defenses to an honorable fight to the death. Disfavored wishes to spare soldier lives for the battles ahead, and civilians' lives for the occupations. Warrior's Respite. Stand your ground in the face of defeat. During this time, you will regenerate health rapidly, but your damage is significantly reduced. Spreading the word of Kairos, you converted the poor disaffected and hidden army of the Scarlet Chorus. Once the dust settled, the army wished to bolster their troops with these sleeper cells. Searing Palm. Gather heated energy into your hands and release it into a foe. The target ignites in flames, burning over time. Keeping to the shadows, you eliminate the leaders of the Bastard City one by one. Great cloud of scurrying shadows and dust for short-duration enemies that use physical attacks against you have a significant increased chance to miss. During the time, your attacks will also be less effective. Yeah, I think I'm solely leaning toward the disfavored, but I think this will be good. I know it's probably less damage, but I'm leaning towards more of a tank anyway. The city marshal was an old but experienced fighter, and his value to the guard was an accepted truth. After making guarantees for your protection, you met him in the square of the market district and fought in the view of tense onlookers. The battle drew on longer than you thought possible. Good fortune struck when an ornamental chain hanging from the marshal's armor snagged the quillion of his sword, granting you the opportunity to end his life swiftly. Kairos' forces celebrated your return to camp and the dissolution of any memorial. All agreed that the Bastard City was poised to crumble. And with that, folks, the city is taken over. The Bastard City of 428 TR. Bastard City settled in a new state of normalcy, with every tower displaying Kairos' banner. Your name was whispered alongside rumors of a decorated career to come. The armies divided into two fronts and migrated south. Tunon sent word that you were to join the next frontier of Kairos' conquest, either as a judge and overseer of the settlement of Lithian's Crossing, or as a war advisor with the armies advancing into the realm of Apex. Lithian's Crossing, built in the shadow of Old Walls Junction, in the realm of Haven. Lithian's Crossing is a growing trading settlement. Nearby rivers are rich in iron ore. The locals lack the technology to smelt and forge the element. In the years following Kairos' conquest of the tiers, the population of Lithian's Crossing swelled with refugees fleeing the destruction of their homelands. The presence of the forge-bound mining the iron, along with the guards, makes the makeshift settlement a vital resources for Kairos' army. And then we also have the Apex. The troops of the mountain realm of Apex stood idle in the safety of their valley, biding their time as their neighbors in the Bastard tier fell. In the second year of war, a joint force of disfavored and Scarlet Corps crossed over the mountains to take control of Tyr's central valley. Deposits of iron made in the settlement of the Lithian's Crossing a strategic war asset. Kairos sent the forge-bound smith mages of exceptional skill to establish flow of weaponry. Tunon, the educator, sent one of his Fatebinders to ensure the enforcement of Kairos' law. I can go either way with this. I'm kind of leaning more towards Lethian's Crossing, just to secure supplies. Lethian's Crossing. Years ago, Lethian the Bold founded a small merchant town at the intersection of ancient old walls. A pact between the settlers and a mercenary company meant the caravans were able to travel without fear of bandits or bane, and the town thrived in modest insignificance. Lethian's Crossing drew Kyrus' attention for the iron deposit in the surrounding hills, but the region under Kyrus' control, Northern Smith mages could set up workshops to refine ore and arm the disfavored with the finest weapons in the known world. The Archon of Secrets dismantled the mercenary support with a generous bribe, taking the crossing in a bloodless victory. Tunin dispatched you to travel alongside Curios' forces and bring order to the region. Alright, more decisions. Kyrus' smith mages worked day and night to create weapons. No one faulted their dedication, yet production was low. The plans that came to light proved a division to the disfavored and Scarlet Chorus. On one hand, any additional manpower was needed for fighters, not forgers. On the other hand, the celebrated weaponry of Kyrus' armies needed to be fiercely guarded. As the Scarlet Chorus took refugees from the recently influx and forced them to serve in Kyrus' military. You repurposed these individuals to haul wagons of iron from the smith mages. This proved an inconvenience to the Scarlet Chorus, who relied on their force and numbers to be effective in the field. The conscripted help from a local tribe of beastmen, their strange would more than offset their disobedience, or their strength. The disfavored protested that savages have access to the secrets of iron, but their voices were few compared to the Scarlet Chorus. Okay, so that's supporting the flow of iron. Let's see, the Cult of Siren. Siren, Archon of Song, used her arcane charm to lure locals into joining Kyrus' army. As a patroness of the Scarlet Chorus, her efforts were critical to the conscription of new recruits. When an enthralled, disfavored soldier joined her cult, his company feared that the Archon was growing out of control and needed to be stopped. The disfavored demanded that the Archon of Song cease her recruitment practices and that they be allowed to finally subdue her cult of followers. The loss of soldiers was a significant setback to the Scarlet Chorus conscription efforts. In Scarlet Chorus tradition, you sent the latest batch of cultists to the front lines of the Apex campaign. Those who survived were welcome to remain in Kyrus' military, and their performance would stand as testimony to Siren's effectiveness. So this is starting where to branch off to favor one side than the other, the unfavored or the Scarlet Chorus. So I can either do, I don't know which one. That's free. Yeah, sorry, Scarlet. I think we're going to be practical about it and get the flow of iron going. The population of Lethian's Crossing had swelled from the emptying of lands destroyed by Kyrus' army. Although the Scarlet Chorus fought to keep the refugees under their control, the need for production could not wait. The new recruits were reassigned to haul iron ore from treacherous mine shafts. Labor more befitting slaves than Kyrus' artisans. Though the disfavored grew stronger, with the advantage of more weapons, the Scarlet Chorus diminished as their ranks found themselves with one less opportunity for growth. Pick of the Armory. Since you aided the production of weapons, commanders of both armies lobbied for additional arms. They offered all manner of bribes to be next in line for a fitting session with the masters of the forge. How did you state the lust for iron? Let's see. You let the disfavored have the iron, keeping the best tools in the hands of the elite. The Scarlet Chorus saw the slight as an obvious display of preferential treatment. Yep. You gave iron arms to the Scarlet Chorus commanders, knowing they pay very well for any killing tool. Weaponry of such acclaim was typically reserved for the highest disfavored officers, but you were open to the changing tradition under the circumstances. You allowed no changes in the orderly dispensation of iron that punished those who tried to bribe you twice. Let's see. The Guardians do. Everest's armies used the Thane's Crossing as a reprieve from the war. The city grew more crowded as a mercenary army hired by the Archon of Secrets occupied the barracks while they drained resources and escalated tensions. The disfavored wanted nothing to do with the sellswords, but the Scarlet Horse sought to invite them into the fold. The disfavored demanded that the mercenaries be kept far from Kratos' army. The righteous occupied would not deign to share provisions or supplies with degenerate sellswords. He built a separate barracks and mess hall in order to keep the sellswords out of the army's way, and enacted strict laws against disorderly conduct. Alright, you let the Scarlet Chorus and the mercenaries engage in combat games and challenges and allowed laws against revelry and merriment to go unenforced. Those who won the contest took a great share of provisions, and sellswords and marrow were invited to join Kairos' army. Okay, that's a tough decision between the two. Which one do I want? Pick of armory. I'm sure each army will get a boost. Or none, depending on what that is. But do I want to, like, invite corruption into me, like, now, if I accept the bribes? What does that say for future decisions? That I'm easily bribed. I have a nature for bribing. Because I'm assuming picking this means I'm more in line with Tyranny. Kairos, I mean. This one needs to. This is tough. I'm not sure I see the outside of the fact of, like, I want to be more favored in one faction than the other. Don't see how. I would like to know more about, like, how the disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus came to be, because I'm wondering, like, why is there two armies? Because the disfavored seem to be more like a closer along to, like, a security police enforcement, where, like, the Scarlet Chorus is more of an army. My gut feeling says this one. Screw it, let's go with it. With the gut. The games proved an excellent opportunity to relieve tensions, settle disputes, and guarantee future cooperation between the two forces. Any grievances were resolved by ritual combat, nicer than your adjudication, but arguably more entertainment for those outside of the arena. The mercenaries who proved themselves worthy opponents found reward from joining the ranks of the Scarlet Chorus, where many of them carved out positions amongst the elite fighters. But who controlled the crossing? Tragedy struck when a mercenary hired by the Voices of Nerat injured a forge-bound artisan, leaving him unable to practice his craft. Tunon ordered the mercenaries to leave the city in the hands of Kairos' more responsible servants. Only a token garrison could be left behind him, while the armies returned to the front. As the disfavored and Scarlet Chorus showed increasing tension and hostility toward each other, Tunon decreed it best that only one force controlled the crossing. Granted. Yeah, I'm more in line with the disfavored. I favored the disfavored. The disfavored placed a modest garrison in the settlements of the Thane's Crossing. Though the force was larger than might be needed to police the small settlement, protecting the forge-bound and Ironsmith became the true agenda of the defense forces, as these magical craftsmen kept the disfavored invasion force suited in iron. Relieved at the departure of the Scarlet Chorus, the citizens of the Thane's Crossing felt that they got least of the two burdens. You received word from Graven Ash thanking you for your decision. The Forgebound and their weaponry could not be entrusted to the voices of... Yeah. The voices of Nerat, the Sky of the Chorus, is better served in like front lights. Oh, 3 decisions this time. I still have so many more decisions to do. Alright. The mercenaries expelled and the Thayans crossing under new leadership, Kyrus' forces congratulated themselves on bringing order to the settlement and guaranteeing a production flow of resources. Over the course of this diversion, the army's front advanced further into the tiers. Your skills were needed in the realm of Jur, Stalwart, or the Vellum Citadel. It's the Vellum Citadel. Vellum Citadel was a library fortress, the largest archive of the written word in the tiers. The School of Ink and Quill protected and maintained the archive of ancient lore for centuries, standing apart from the political upheavals of the younger realms as an enduring pillar of knowledge and culture. Stalwart. Though with its easily defended position and rich military tradition, the realm of Stalwart was the most formidable realm in the tiers. Or I can go to the Citadel, the Vellum Citadel. Kyrus' conquering gaze fell upon the Vellum Citadel, its treasures, its knowledge, and its secrets. In Azure, Kyrus dispatched the Arcanum Stone to subjugate the nation of Azure. Let's go to Stalwart, I think. Authority TR, Year 3 of Kyrus' conquest. Stalwart. Realm of Star was best known for its proud army, disciplined, courageous, and undefeated on their home soil. Skill and resolve made Stalwart a military power that Kyrus' forces approached with due caution. With its southern position, Stalwart had been largely safe from war, watching for 2 years as its neighbors fell to Kyrus' forces. On the dawn of the 3rd year of war, Kyrus' forces were finally poised to invade the Stalwart Peninsula and subdue the tier's most vaunted army. Alright, let's take a look at this one first. Marching on empty, the Stalwart defenders burned their crops as they retreated, leaving the invaders little to forage. Starving, the Scarlet Chorus mob raided from the disfavored's well-maintained supply lines, incurring casualties on both sides. That's not unexpected, but not cool, bruh. You ordered that the thieving Scarlet Corps soldiers be spiked for their affront. Or by your command, the disfavored shared their provisions. The thieves each lost a hand for their treachery. Oof. Alright, let's take a look at this one. A contentious setback. After a defeat at the hands of enemy defenders, the Scarlet Chorus accused the disfavored of recklessness. The disfavored claimed the Scarlet Chorus brought too few soldiers to cover their flanks. Both armies refused to march until you gave a ruling. Knowing the disfavored reputation for discipline, as well as the Scarlet Chorus' powers to instill fear and frenzy, you decided that the Scarlet Chorus was in the wrong. Lacking proof that the Scarlet Chorus recruits were negligent, you punished the disfavored commander for his failure and for bringing charges without evidence. I don't want to decide to do this one. Let's see. Yeah, the Scarlet Chorus commanders argued that the Horde was starving. Being the largest of Kyrus' army, they were also the least provisioned. The men were wrong to steal, but the disfavored were equally wrong to withhold supplies from their allies. You agreed with the Chorus version of events and ordered that the disfavored supplies to be shared. The thieves themselves would be punished with the loss of a hand and returned to the front lines. The disfavored found this a sickening aberration of justice and surrendered their supplies with grudging acceptance. Come on, guys, we need to work together. The Beasts of Stalwart. Scarlet Chorus mages discovered a spell to turn beastmen slaves against their handlers. The army prepared to deploy this tactic elsewhere, but the disfavored protested. The use of unsanctioned magical practices ran contrary to Kyrus' laws, and beastmen were considered too erratic to be relied upon, even as shock troops. You agreed with the disfavored arguments and ordered the beastmen slain. Scarlet Chorus mages who discovered the trick were ordered to never use it again, on pain of execution. You approve of the Scarlet Chorus's new innovation and ruled the technique an acceptable use of wartime magic. Better dead than red. Rather than submit to the Scarlet Chorus's conscription, conquered locals began committing suicide. Despite to add more bodies to the horde, the Scarlet Chorus demanded a portion of disfavored prisoners. The disfavored denied the right of recruitment as the realm's population had taken a steep decline. You banned the Scarlet Chorus from recruiting in the realm of Stalwart, going so far as notifying them, the locals, to assuage their fears. You refused the disfavored request and allowed the Scarlet Chorus to continue recruiting. Additionally, you ordered the disfavored captive slaves be given to the Chorus to make up for the losses suffered. I'm kind of leaning towards more this. I don't know why. I don't know, it's probably best for the beastmen to be killed than used as shock troops. The Scarlet Chorus argued that their tactics were suppressed by the disfavor's rigid sense of ethics, which didn't apply to their side of the military campaign. You listened to these complaints with interest, wondering if they suggested some greater flaw on the conquest, but stood by your decision. The disfavored took the more orderly approach. Kyros's peace meant nothing without order. Interesting, so there's still... I wonder how these armies even served up to this point. I mean, they seem successful, but how have they not killed each other yet? The Edict of Storms. The disfavored carved a slow, steady path in the heart of Stalwart and surrounded the enemy's massive fortress. With the main bulk of their forces defeated, the enemy leadership retreated to their mighty fortress, content to outwait the war. The Overlord answered this impudence with an Edict of Storms on the peninsula, a devastating spell that would endure for as long as the cowardly hearts of Stalwart's leaders persisted in beating. Pleased by your efforts, Tunon deemed you the proper representative to deliver Kyros's edict. Aside from being given a 3-day window to read the edict, you received no other instructions. Agreeing with the wishes of the disfavored, you proclaimed the edict at once, leaving the enemy no time to react. Stalwart had ample opportunity to surrender for several years. The time for mercy was long gone. In an attempt to ingratiate themselves with the people of Stalwart, the Scarlet Chorus insisted that warning be sent to the towns and villages, so that people may prepare for the horror about to descend. Kyros's wrath was intended for the cowardly regents of Stalwart, not those unfortunates swept up into the calamity of their leadership. A warning in advance of the spell would give locals time to prepare for the devastation to come. You were content to let punishment fall on the innocent as lightly as Kyros's will allows. Comforted that you might yet spare lives, you broke the seal of Kyros's Edict of Storms and read the Overlord's incantation. I didn't realize it could be that powerful, but damn, yeah, I don't know, just... So yeah, the Unsfavored is brutal but efficient, where I didn't expect it, but the Scarlet Chorus is more sympathetic to the little men. I guess that makes sense because they are made of little men. Alright, the clear sky is darkened as you read the final words of the edict. A flurry of wind and rain whipped through the rolling plains and craggy canyons, turning rocks, uprooted trees, and hapless soldiers into hazardous shrapnel. Armed with a measure of foresight, you were able to remove yourself from the area before the storm grew more violent. Over time, nearby communities told of cyclones consisting of thousands of soldiers' worth of limbs, spears and armor, and skulls. What's more, the weather showed no sign of dissipating. Several units of disfavored who fought the enemy in spite of the advancing storm were caught up in the Overlord's magic. A few survivors regrouped and nursed their wounds. Their failure to topple the Stalwart Legion shamed them into believing the dead more fortunate. The name Stalwart fell from use. People took to calling it the Blade Grave, with a remade landscape festooned with the iron and bronze armaments of two once great legions. As Kyros's forces departed, As Kyros's forces departed, you spared a glance back at the ruins of Stalwart, marveling at your work. You didn't have long to rest before Tuna called you into service once more. Where might you send me, my liege? Conquest completed. You have reached the end of Kairos' Conquest. Do you wish to continue or erase your progress and start? Yeah, let's continue.
The year is 431, and Kairos' invasion has shattered all major opposition in the tiers. The Younger Realms, the Bastard Tier, the Free Cities. All who defied Kairos lay broken by battle, or bowed in surrender. The two armies of the Overlord, the Disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus, now control our lands. But our will is not yet extinguished. Not entirely. In the Valley of Vendrian's Well, those of us unwilling to bow to Kairos have banded together in defiance. Violating an oath of surrender from 2 years prior, we have staged a bloody uprising, murdering the Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus garrison in a midnight assault. With their main forces spread across the tiers, the Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus redeploy to Vendrian's Well to crush the resistance, but months pass with no definitive battle. As disagreement and discord paralyze the Archons, we bide our time and wait for our message of insurrection to spread across the tiers. The Overlord is not amused, and Kairos has one message for the Archons: crush the Oathbreakers or die. Kairos backs this threat with an edict, a magical commandment that can slay all in the valley should the order be ignored. The honor of proclaiming this edict fell to you. Sent across the mountains to Vendrian's Well, you carry the Overlord's edict to read before the Archons. As you finally make your way through the winding mountain passes into the valley, the ground trembles, and Kairos' magic seals the way behind you. You are trapped in Vendrian's Well, with Kairos' armies and the Oathbreakers. The only way to survive is to fulfill the terms of the Overlord's edict, in any way that you can.